Just like the BBC News. BBC News.
I do not know. Not even a Vulcan can know the unknown, Captain.
Here we go. All right. That's right. Star Trek, the original series, episode 22, Return to Tomorrow, is over and has been since 1968. But we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast. I'm Dave Mader coming at you with Star Trek TV and movie reviews. We're here streaming live on Facebook at Live Long and Podcast. You may also be watching on our YouTube channel or listening to us on the audio version. Welcome to all of you. I got a fabulous panel for... Huh?
Are we streaming on Pornhub?
Why? Why do you ask?
I don't know. Just
Pornhub, yeah.
Oh, you got all the... we got... It's called a simulcast, Jody.
All right, well, we should simulcast the Pornhub.
Okay, so introducing Jody Simpson for the original series podcast crew that we have here on Live Long and Podcast. Welcome, Jody.
Thank you.
We got my father and my brother, Ted and Jeff Mader, respectively, joining us in here.
What's up?
Good evening. Good evening.
Hey.
Our headquarters.
Welcome, everybody. Okay, we're here to talk about...
Starbase 7.
Because we're doing these original series episodes not in order. So this is the episode that actually aired before the one we did last week. But that's neither here nor there. There's no rhyme or reason to this. We're cherry picking the best original series episodes, or maybe not. Who knows? But the ones that Ted Mader wants to check out. So we're talking about Return to Tomorrow, and I got to tell you, just off the bat, this is one of my preferred original series episodes. I remember this one from being a kid, and it still holds up. I think this is one of the better original series episodes. But we're gonna go around the panel and talk about it. Let's maybe go to Dad first. Dad, why'd you pick this episode, and what do you think of it?
Well, it always intrigued me, those balls with the lights in them, and their subconscious was their being, and it was kind of Jody's getting it, you know, and then
Ted loves the balls.
When they took the body of Kirk, you'll notice how very dim the ball became, right? So those balls were. Those people had balls, as they say.
They had bright balls.
Bright white balls.
Big balls.
Yeah. Even the ladies.
But I like the voice. I like the voice of Sargon as well.
Which is done by James Doohan, one of the great voice actors of the 20th century. Often goes overlooked. Did a lot of voice work on the original series.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, James Doohan was a really trained linguist. He could kind of do any accent if he heard it once. He's not actually Scottish, right? So
he's not?
No, he's Irish. He's Irish Canadian.
Oh.
He's from
Vancouver.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
from the van.
Yeah, but he's often been thought of as being Scottish, but he's actually not at all. And still to this day, people are down with it. Scotty, yeah.
You're going to what?
He's great in this episode. Jody, what did you think of this episode?
Overall, it's a good episode. It's probably one of the better episodes of the original series. I like the dynamic on being able to see how these characters actually act differently. Like Shatner was hamming it up pretty good, but that's normal for him. But seeing Leonard Nimoy as the evil man was kind of fun to watch.
As Enoch, the Iago character in this Othello allegory that I choose to assign to it. And Jeff, you just finished the episode mere moments ago.
Yes.
What were your thoughts?
There's a lot of sexual tension going on in this episode. I mean,
A lot of sexual tension.
yeah, like between the girl, there's what's her name from the Next Generation?
Diana Muldaur.
Diana Muldaur, and you have her with William Shatner, are just really, for the majority of the episode, looking at each other like they just want to bang. But like I have here, I'm gonna share it. This image is from the end of the episode, and I just want to share it because I think it sums up the episode entirely. Okay, so if you could
Okay,
throw
well,
that up,
we're gonna have to push you to audio only for a second.
That's
Jeff,
fine.
So we
Push
can
me
show
in
this. Yeah. All right, coming in.
This represents the entire episode to me.
Hey. And she's like, seriously, I wouldn't be with you.
Yeah, it's a very
Let's
much.
bring that full screen just so we. Sorry, that's you. Solo odd. There we go. Just so we can see that in all its. All of
she
its
is not having
glory.
that.
This is by the way, right after they just do like a long smooch with each other. So Kirk's like, "Yeah, you did," and she's
Well,
like,
it's one particular frame, Jeff. But yes, I
He's
understand.
like, another one down.
So
Mhm.
all right, it's a good episode. Like,
But was he Kirk or was he Sargon there?
He was Sargon when he was kissing her.
Okay.
yeah, that was at the end when they were. Yeah,
Are they back to human at that point?
I don't. This is right at the end of the episode, like 49 minutes.
Yeah.
I think they're human.
That's his wife, Thalassia.
The last.
Yeah, he's Alassa or whatever. Yeah.
I have a question about the uniforms that I think maybe you'll be able to answer for me, Dave. Why is there red in the nurse comm badge, and why is it like stuck to like their collar?
It's the Red Cross, like the medical symbol of the Red Cross. So
Okay.
it's actually it's to indicate that they're part of the science division, but they're actually more specifically part of the medical division.
So why doesn't McCoy have that?
He does at times. I think there's a uniform variant he has, but like basically all the medical people are part of the science division. And
He's had the badge, but I don't know if I've ever seen him in red.
No, it's not that he's in red. It's that the badge, because for
As
the
a
science officers, they have like that little globe symbol is inside of like the delta. But for the medicals, they have just the Red Cross medical symbol inside of there.
But he's chief medical officer, so shouldn't he have a medical?
Well, it's a good point. It seems to be something only the nurses wear, more so. But yeah.
Just something I noticed. All right, so as far as the episode goes, I mean, it's pretty interesting. The whole, why does Sargon trust the guy Enoch that goes into Spock? Like, why he's like, they walk into that room at one point in the episode and they're looking at the other two balls. He's like, one was my wife, as of course I'm sure you figured out, and the other one was this guy. And
right. So there was a war.
His enemy.
Yeah, there was a war on their planet, and it was destroyed all life. And so Enoch, the one that takes over Spock's body in this episode, he was from the other side of that war. But I guess what Sargon explains is that, like, sort of at the end, when they realized that it was all over, their whole planet was toast, they were like, well, we should bring people from the other side because that was our failing, is that we didn't bring together these two opposing sides. And that's what led to our destruction. But this guy's a bad egg. He's a bad seed, this Enoch. You can't
even
trust
after
him.
500 million years, after all that time, he was like, just waiting to get into Spock, and just
well, he had 500,000 years, to kind of lay out his plans, but he was never really like Sargon's best friend or anything like that. He was always Sargon's enemy.
No. And he never transferred ever back, did he?
No, I guess he went into oblivion, as they say in this episode. So yeah,
I think he never really transferred back from Spock back into the orb. He just stayed in Spock since the time he went in.
Right. Yeah. He never left the body, right? Because Spock, I think, because they talked about when Sargon first takes over Kirk's body in this episode, that there's like this interchange between Kirk and Sargon in sort of the ether, and so they understood each other. So I think if Spock in the story had gotten out of his, taking control of his body again, I think he would have exposed Enoch as not being the best person.
This episode reminds me of that TNG episode where they come across the planet and the spirits take over, like Deanna Troi and I can't remember who else. I'm wondering if they kind of borrowed a bit off of the original series for that one.
Well, it's a great like science fiction story, right? It's this idea that like your consciousness could be encapsulated in pure energy and sort of preserved after your body's long dead. And so it kind of, so it's similar to that concept in that Next Generation episode.
Which is the reason why Kirk is alive at the end of the episode.
What is the name of that planet? Anybody know? Yeah,
it's called Elret, although it's not actually said on screen, which is just Terra backwards.
Arrête, like a stop sign in Quebec.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. But let's talk about this episode. Maybe from the beginning. Okay, so talk about sexual tension, Jeff. But early on, after they so they're hundreds of thousands of light years away from where any Earth ship has been. They're deep into deep space, and they realize they're being scanned. Kirk goes, "What's going on, Spock?" And Spock says, "I don't know." And Kirk's not impressed.
I do not know. Not even a Vulcan can know the unknown, Captain.
Not even a Vulcan can know the unknown, Captain.
Well, that's true.
Well, it's true. I just think like Spock was like, "Really, man? I always have every answer for you, and now the one time I don't know what's going on, you're gonna
give me shit about it."
Kirk threw some cut eye at Spock in that moment.
There was definitely some like daggers going on.
Yeah, he's daggers. Like, "Don't give me this answer." He's like, "Make something up, at the very least.
At least give me something."
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, Kirk. Oh, William Shatner is loving himself in this episode.
I mean, I'm really hamming it up like there's no tomorrow.
You really appreciate just how much he overacts, especially when he gets possessed by any sort of an alien or anything like that. He goes full tilt. He goes all the way. He's Nick Cage. I mean, he's Nick Cage before Nick Cage.
And to be fair, I think that Leonard Nimoy also takes advantage of the ability to play sort of a different character on this show. This is like near the end of their second season. I wouldn't say that they were typecast at this point, but I think that like Shatner and Nimoy for years to come after this were like trying to get away from the characters as Kirk and Spock for a long time. They're like, no, we're actors. We can play all kinds of roles. We're not just spacemen, but they kind of got locked into those roles.
Yeah.
And so you see in this episode that they're just like, look, we're classically trained actors. We're thespians. We can do it all. And so when Sargon first takes over control of Kirk, Shatner just everything. He just leaves it right out there for you.
Right, but like that's the difference I find between Nimoy and Shatner is when Nimoy does that, you're like, oh, that is a lot different than how he plays Spock. When Kirk does it, when Shatner does it, you're like, yeah, it's just Kirk being Kirk. I mean, because Kirk is Shatner. I mean, he doesn't really.
There's not much of a difference.
It's just his eccentric.
He defined the role, whereas Leonard Nimoy played the role.
Yeah. Like, he plays himself more, William Shatner as Kirk was fine. Like, Nimoy definitely.
Yeah, you're pretty sure if he gets all excited, he probably talks the exact same way. Like he's probably like, "Oh my God, I won $100 on the scratch ticket." It's like,
yeah.
You just know the guy's raking it in.
Right. Why do you think they chose the girl here? The what's her name again?
Diana Muldaur.
Why did they pick her to play this role instead of Uhura? The girl, Michelle Nichols. Why? I
got a good answer for you.
Racism?
Racism for one.
She's black.
Yeah, like there was one on-screen kiss between Shatner and Michelle Nichols, Kirk and Uhura, and it was done.
Fucking people went ballistic about
it. And that was because in the story they were forced to by aliens, right? It wasn't even like voluntary because they were worried that everybody in the South was gonna like have a riot over that. And ultimately people didn't care. Nobody wrote in about it. But like so why didn't they give that role to Uhura? That's why. Because there was gonna be a lot of smooching between Shatner and whoever was on screen. Speaking of, even just when Diana Muldaur as Dr. Mulhall shows up in this episode, they played like that little flowery music, right? Like,
they played a lot.
Every time a pretty girl comes on, they're like, "Oh my God, a pretty girl!"
Starfleet's full of them, which is even more interesting. The hiring boss apparently is quite the guy.
Right, like it's it's just like it's how it goes. Even when Henoch wakes up in Spock's body later on in the episode, he's like, "Hello, nurse. What a pleasant sight you are to see after 500,000 years."
Yes. Which Spock could never do because he would have no emotion.
Spock wouldn't do but it was just kind of like that. They even wrote this into the script was kind of interesting.
Well, but, it was because it was Spock.
It was Gene Roddenberry's wife that he's looking at, right?
Yeah, that's true. He was looking at Gene Roddenberry's wife. Yeah, so it's kind of
Barrett.
Actually, wait. At this point, Majel Barrett is Gene Roddenberry's mistress. I got to be more.
Yeah, they were
Nurse Chapel.
So Nurse Chapel was turned into Roddenberry's wife eventually, and then eventually played Troy's mom in Next Gen.
Oh, okay.
And did the voice of the computer.
And she was the voice of the computer. Yeah.
Right, but in this, she's Nurse Chapel. So yeah, Roddenberry was a bit of a dog. He had affairs.
A bit.
Well, more than a bit. Interesting guy. Really interesting life he led. But yeah, he had affairs with Majel Barrett, who plays Nurse Chapel, and Nichelle Nichols, who plays Uhura. So got around, Mr. Gene Roddenberry did. Yeah, and talking. Yeah, this was what I was going to play for you, Jeff, with the sexual tension. Because after they find Sargon and they send the probe, Sargon says,
Your probes have touched me, Mr. Spock.
Yeah, there's sexual innuendo all over this episode. I kept going, Jesus Christ, did they not read the script? Like,
Oh, they read it.
They read it. They were not.
They read it a bunch of times and went, "Don't change a thing."
But so they were worried about the interracial kiss, but they're not worried about all these, balls and all these different innuendos they're making.
Late '60s here, man. Like this is exactly what was going on. Like,
no, it makes sense. I
like
get
people look at like Austin Powers movies as being like over the top, and it's like it's not actually that over the top when you look at some of the media that was happening at that
think
point.
about Bond movies too, and that's still going on in Bond movies.
There was a lot of sexual innuendo, especially in the late '60s in media.
So basically they find this dead planet, but then there's Sargon talking to them, and he's like, "Yeah, you can beam down to into the middle of the planet. I can make your technology better." Like he's just so powerful that
he's 100 miles deep, 111 miles or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we get to the main question of this episode though, which is when they sit in that boardroom, and Kirk goes, "Look, they have all this amazing capabilities. This is what the starship is.
Risk is our business.
Risk is our business."
That's the greatest moment of the episode.
No, it isn't.
No,
you know what the best moment of the episode is when McCoy says, "I won't peddle in flesh," however he says that.
Yeah, I have it.
I like Kirk's whole rant there.
It's this whole rant
It's
there.
one of the better rants in the entire series.
Probably the most memorable part of the episode.
Give me that, Dave. Give me that McCoy. I won't peddle in flesh.
Coming right up.
I will not peddle flesh. I'm a physician.
That's a classic.
That's one of my worst audio.
The only thing that sucked about this episode was the long, drawn-out process of them deciding whether or not they're going to actually let them use the bodies. And it's like that table scene, like after Kirk does his little speech and stuff. That table scene, you're just like, oh, when is this going to fucking end?
Really, it doesn't bother me. Like it felt like
it was way too long.
How many scenes in the Next Generation are they just sitting around a conference room table?
That doesn't bother me as long as it's progressing something, but it really isn't. It was literally like 30 seconds of dead silence for the most part, and then McCoy eventually went, it was just.
I buy it. I
guess it was supposed to be a tension thing.
They're talking about whether or not they want these aliens to let them take over their bodies, right? And whether they want to get involved in these guys. This conversation, I think, would happen. Like whether we
these aliens beam them 110 miles into the core of the fucking planet.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly they have the technology. So what's to really think about here? Just run it.
Well, Jane asked, why couldn't they build their own android bodies without the Enterprise? What did they need the Enterprise for?
They didn't have arms. They
didn't have physical. They didn't have a physical being.
But they can do so much more. They can take over the Enterprise. They can change the transporters.
So what are they going to do? Make the Enterprise build them?
I'm just saying that they seem so powerful. These three aliens.
If there happened to be an android factory around, I'm sure they wouldn't have needed anybody.
It seems like they're smart enough and powerful enough to kind of, after 500,000 years, to problem solve that themselves. But I guess not. They were kind of stuck in the balls, right? So it was
as we all start our lives.
Yeah. Right. Well,
stuck in the balls.
Yeah. And it seems like that Sargon had been scoping them out for a while because he's very specific. He already knew which bodies he wanted to ask for.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
Because what's her name? Diana Muldaur, the Anne Mulhall character. She just shows up in the transporter room and she's like, "I was told to come to report for duty for the away mission." And
Kirk's I didn't send for you.
Yeah, who are you again? I don't think we ever see her again. Although Diana Muldaur did come back
in Next Gen.
In Next Gen.
Not the same character, but
not the same character. And actually, Diana
Muldaur. She's still going.
Yeah,
she's still alive.
Yeah. She's like 88 years old.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah.
But we were saying that, after 20 years, she had really changed her looks. But in this episode, she's basically there to be Kirk's love interest, or Sargon's, or both, because you feel it between Kirk and her, and you also obviously between Sargon.
Well,
and
you feel
Thalatha.
Kirk with her, but I don't think you feel her back.
Yeah, did you not see the
like,
picture?
I saw
put
the
up?
photo, but hey, that's
Kirk-
just a moment
Kirk's
in time.
all about her, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's the other way around.
Right.
Kirk's all about whatever's in front of his face. That's who he is. He's a horn
He's-
dog.
Kind of,
But
yeah.
he's a horn dog. But in reality, if you actually look at how many times he actually had sex with women, or at least implied it in the series, it isn't actually that many.
I didn't say he was successful. I'm just saying he's always hidden.
He's always trying.
Yeah, he's always trying.
Well, they don't
He
really.
gives it the college go for sure, but
You have to put one and one together.
It's because I think Kirk's character though is a lot to do with like the fantasy of like kids growing up in the 60s. If they were flying around the space universe and they had this super smart friend that was their like right hand person that didn't want sex, you'd be like, I'd be trying
I'm
to,
getting everything. Yeah,
I'm getting everything. And then certain episodes I think definitely dictated toward that. But we were never wondering when Picard was going to have sex with something because it just didn't make
actually, it
sense.
was more of a surprise when that happened.
Only happened a couple times for
Yeah.
Picard. He got more episodes than Kirk, though. So Kirk
True.
on a per capita basis with her.
Yeah.
So they need to figure out what's going on. Sargon says
All your questions will be answered in time, Captain Kirk.
they get down to the planet. and
Don't
he goes-
worry. Don't
I still
worry.
can't believe that James Doohan.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it, eh?
And they're expecting
We
to.
know of him.
They beam into this planet. They're expecting to meet Sargon, and he's just a receptacle.
And all they see is
Sealed in this receptacle is the essence of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Jody, you were saying?
And it
I
was
said,
very
and
bright.
all they met was balls.
He had a lot of power.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's really funny? I totally forgot what episode we were going to watch. So yesterday I used my Google Home, and I'm like, "Hey, Google, tell me which episode was the one with the 3 balls."
And it knew?
Yeah.
Oh, Google Home's pretty
He
smart.
did?
Yeah, it totally told me. It's like, "Oh, this is episode 20 of season 2 called Return to Tomorrow." It's episode 20 though, isn't it? Not episode 22.
Yeah, 20, I think.
Episode
And-
22.
Ah, look at that. We screwed it up right there.
No,
Dave.
it's episode 22.
Is it 22?
Yep, 2
I
times
wonder how I
22.
found it then.
2222 or 222.
222. The only time it ever happened in Star Trek.
Right. And then this is where Kirk Shatner gets taken over by Sargon for the first time in all its glory. It is amazing. I love every bit of it.
Oh,
Just when he's like,
did anybody order the ham and cheese special? 'Cause-
Yeah. He's literally
right there.
orgasming. Like it was like
it
it was like Bill, do your
worst-
do your O face.
imagine you haven't been able to have a body for 500,000 years. What does that look like?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I got that right here.
he literally looked like he was so impressed with himself. That's what made it even more amazing. He literally he's overacting, and at there's points while he's overacting that he kind of stops for a second, and you're like, he's actually thinking about how awesome he is. You can tell. He's like,
Mhm.
it was amazing.
Sorry. He's so happy too.
To see again. To be again.
Is that Bill Shatner's voice or is that
Yes.
James Doohan? See, like
So that,
Yeah.
yes,
at
that's
certain
Shatner.
points they had Shatner do it, and then only another
When it was
point-
in Shatner's body, like when it was in Kirk's body, then it was
Shatner did
Shatner.
it,
but
but
when,
when it was
when he was in the
outside or in the
receptacle or he was on like the intercom or whatever, then it was
Yeah, it was Sargon, yeah.
Well done, one way or the other.
yeah, it's James Doohan. I'm sure. I mean, to be able to do a Scottish accent when you're not Scottish is not. I'm sure not easy as an actor. So
Well, it was his idea too, because they said, "Well, we want you to play the engineer," and he says, "Well, you better make him a Scotsman because Scotsmen make the best engineers," and that's how Scotty came to be.
Which, when you look at the history of cars, you would say, no, that's not true. But anyway,
Maybe Germans or Italians or whatnot, but this is after World War II, so Germans and Italians weren't as popular. Scottish engineers where it's at.
You probably knew a bunch of people in the Scottish Rite that that were engineers and shit, and he was like, yeah, you're doing engineer. That's
the way it worked out.
Did you know that James Doohan was on Juno Beach for D-Day?
yes, I did know that.
Yeah, that I did know.
And he lost a finger, Dad. Did you know that? Attention span.
We've already lost him.
Who lost?
James Doohan lost a finger on Juno Beach. Did you know that?
And on
No, I
D-Day.
didn't know that. No.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
D-Day.
Yeah, he fought for Canada in World War II. He was on Juno Beach. He got a finger shot off. And so, but you never see it on the show really, but
Yeah, I never knew that.
he hides it pretty well. But yeah, I think it's his middle finger on his left hand. I think he's missing.
Oh,
That is some precision. That's all I can say.
I think. I don't know if it's. I know it's like it's in the middle of his hand. It's in a way that
take off only a finger. Let's be honest. That's still some pretty good marksman.
Oh, I don't even know if it was intentional. I think
I'm sure it wasn't. I'm just kidding.
Oh, machine gun, yeah.
no, I'm just sure it was just a spray of machine gun bullets, and one of them happened to hit him.
Yeah.
Didn't go through his head, or we wouldn't have had Scotty or Sargon.
That's
Good
right.
thing they only got the finger.
That's right.
So Sargon kind of breaks it down after he takes control of Kirk. He's like, this is what the plan was. I wanted to show you I could take control, and we have these two other people, and you can help us. And McCoy's very upset with this whole situation, right? So he's not
buying it.
He's not buying it. Once he does a reading on Kirk, he realizes that his body can't handle this. The metabolism's like going crazy with this alien energy inside of him. So they eventually come out of it, or they get Sargon to kind of switch it. And Kirk comes out, and Kirk's like fully on board. He's fully been, like they say, you might have a euphoria or something. But that Kirk's fully on board to help Sargon after this experience.
Kirk just looked at it as a way to get another woman.
Well,
Yeah,
I
to be honest.
think they emotionally and they cross paths in the subconscious, and I think that's why Kirk was in.
Well, that's what he says. He's like, we passed in the ether. I understand him. I understand what he's trying to do. And for everything we see in this episode, Sargon is the good guy. But the other two, well, obviously Henoch's evil, but even Thalassa, not evil, but like she's kind of like, after 500,000 years, she's not too eager to jump into a robot body. And she's willing to make some moral compromises. But, she said, so she's like, Sargon explains that I was here. I wanted you. And, but you all have to do this voluntarily. I'm not going to force you to do it, even though I probably could. So he says,
go to your vessel. All who are involved must agree to this.
Mm-hmm. And then we get the conference room speech.
What I think is interesting about this episode, though, it's one of those episodes in the original series where there really isn't a clear villain for a while, where there's almost always like a villain within like the first 5 to 10 minutes of the episode. But this one, like literally, you don't get it until like probably about almost 30 minutes in.
Oh yeah.
When you forget the true intentions of Belloc.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm really creeped out to see Leonard Nimoy like at like the side of a door, just kind of peeking over, going, like, oh, fuck, he was scary.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about the speech again that Kirk gives?
It's an amazing speech.
It's an amazing
speech. I'd like to hear it. I'd like to hear it again.
Yeah, I can play it for you. Hold on, just give me a second to cue it up, as I have it cut up into bits. So, but I can pull it in. Shatnerian. It's called the Shatnerian monologue.
Ooh, it even has a name.
Yes. All right, let's see how this goes.
Do you wish that the first Apollo mission hadn't reached the moon, or that we hadn't gone on to Mars and then to the nearest star? That's like saying you wish that you still operated with scalpels and sewed your patients up with catgut, like your great-great-great-great-grandfather used to. I'm in command. I could order this. But I'm not. Because Dr. McCoy is right in pointing out the enormous danger potential in any contact with life and intelligence as fantastically advanced as this. But I must point out that the possibility, the potential for knowledge and advancement is equally great.
Let's agree. Do you think he messed up that line where it's supposed to be potential danger?
Risk is our business.
Risk is our business.
That's
True.
what this starship is all about.
That's what the starship is all about.
That's why we're aboard her.
Anybody think he was going to say that's why we mount her?
Do you think he screwed that line up when he said danger potential? What, I
Danger
think it was supposed to
potential,
be potential danger, and they were just like, "Ah, it was the best take," so we just
Yeah,
went
they're
with
like,
that one.
we're not going to get another Shatner take out of that one. We're done.
Maybe. Like, to me, this is the one. This is the speech that like is so Starfleet. Like, why are you out there in the middle of the darkness of space, where they say they're hundreds of light years away from anywhere they've ever been before? And he's like, "Well, this is why we're out here. We're out here to meet."
So that is their
life
5-year mission.
expectations. It's a 5-year missions, and he's like, yeah, you're like McCoy's right, but also like, this is why we're here. So I don't know, and ultimately they have to have like this consensus. Like Kirk wants it to be a unanimous decision, but like when Kirk is quite right to point out the
enormous danger potential.
the enormous danger potential.
From now on,
Because
I'm going to say danger potential instead of potential danger.
These aliens are clearly like so powerful, so dangerous that like, yeah, they are playing with fire, but that is kind of the mission of Starfleet. So I guess that's how it is. But like to me, like this is solidified as one of the great Starfleet moments of the original series.
Yeah. No, it's a good. I think the speech is a good speech. Personally, it draws a little hard, but it's for the most part it's cool. I think it's.
If I was
probably
McCoy,
one of the better speeches.
If I was McCoy, I still would have been like,
Do I hear a negative vote?
McCoy should have been, yeah, me. This is fucking stupid.
I'm always fucking negative. What are you new?
Right. McCoy didn't want him to climb that mountain in Star Trek V. McCoy never wants him to do anything. McCoy's like his mother, always telling him what he can't do or being cautious.
Yeah, but let's be honest. If Kirk actually listened to McCoy more, he'd probably be better off.
Well, maybe so. So after
McCoy's always the sober second, thought guy.
Yeah, and Scotty doesn't have a lot to do in this episode as Scotty, but I love this fucking. I got to play it again.
You're going to what?
What is
Android
it?
robots.
He says, "You're going to do what?
You're going to what?
You're going to what?
You're going to what?" And he's because Sargon wants
To build humanoid robots.
right. And so they start building the
At least
android.
he's got a goal.
Also, why is the female there, Diana Muldaur? Why is she in the boardroom? Again, Uhura is not. She's not on she's not the main part of the cast.
But she was chosen by him.
So you got to remember, okay, back in the original series, there was Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, and then the other people. They're not. It's not like the other Star Trek shows. It became that in like the movies and stuff, like Uhura, Chekhov, Sulu, whatever.
They were really side characters.
They were side characters.
They weren't always in each episode. All those other guys.
Well, this was
some episodes.
Perfect example of Khan.
This was Sulu's
Khan
first
episode.
This was Sulu's first episode in 11 episodes.
Yeah, George Takei was gone for a while, but it didn't matter so much. It was just like there had to be somebody at the helm. And George Takei was one of these people cast to do that.
But Uhura's I always felt like Uhura was different than Chekhov and Sulu. I thought she was a little bit more important.
Uhura had more to do. Uhura had more of a presence.
Uhura was in more show, she was more consistently in the shows.
It might have had to do with her affair with Gene Roddenberry.
Well,
there's very few episodes that I can even remember one that somebody else is a communications person. There must be one, but not
sure
very
there
many.
is. Yeah. Probably in the first season.
Right. Well, she was actually going to leave the show after the first season, so maybe that's part of the reason she gets so much more.
Maybe they're like, we'll put you on camera more. Stay.
She got a permanent gig, maybe on Lost in Space.
Yeah, she was thinking about going and doing something else, but
maybe she's going to be Dr. Smith's maid or something.
Famously, Martin Luther King talked her out of that at a function they met at. Do you ever heard that story?
No.
So yeah, she was gonna. It was between the first and second seasons, and Uhura, Nichelle Nichols was at a function for I think the NAACP, and she met Martin Luther King, and she said, I'm thinking about moving on. And he's like, you can't quit that show. It's so important that you're on this show. It's representation. It show you're not just like a worker there. You're like an officer. You got like an important job on this ship, and it's important for people to see Black women and Black people in these roles. And so, he was a big fan. So that's why she stuck with it. But moving on with the episode. So this is after. So then eventually they download everybody into, or they download, what's his name? Enoch and Thalassa, which is the wife of Sargon, into the body of Spock and Dr. Mulhall, respectively. And so, and this is where as soon as Enoch wakes up, as soon as Spock wakes up, you're like, this guy is shifty as hell. I would have called it right in the room. I'd be like, do you see that way that guy was like standing? He gets like crouched down. That is a suspicious acting. You gotta be looking at that. Especially after Sargon tells them that this guy was from the other side of the war. He is not necessarily somebody we know well, at least. So I don't know. I think Sargon's a bit of a dummy, and I think the crew's a bit of a dummy on this. But any thoughts?
I think you pretty much got it there.
Yeah. And so from there, they're like, okay, our metabolisms can't handle this. Spock's can, but the other two can. So Spock makes a formula, or Enoch more specifically makes a formula, and that will help them like stay in the bodies for longer. And he takes Nurse Chapel with him because that was who he was so happy to see when he woke up. But she notices that he's made the formula for Sargon not in a way that won't function well and will kill Captain Kirk. And so he uses Spock's, I guess, telepathy, the mind meld ability. I'm not quite sure if this was an ability they all had or not, but
yeah, he all of a sudden had the ability to like take over like Nurse Chapel, and Nurse Chapel's like, "Oh, it's fine, we're good. I'll go administer it."
Right. Yeah, and so
he erased her memory.
Yeah,
supposedly.
But you wonder why the starship couldn't have taken the 3 receptacles on and gone to Starbase 12 or somewhere and had them build robots there.
And that's the thing that bothered me about this episode, quite honestly, because literally, like, when they go to the planet and they see the receptacles, it's like, okay, well, if they have the ability to beam you down into this, like, 110-mile cavern or whatever, can we not do it the other way? Like, can you guys not do this? Or maybe they can't use their powers while they're being beamed or something? I don't know.
Like the relative power of these aliens was it's sometimes
let's be honest,
godlike, but
yeah, when it comes to the original series, there's always questions like that. When it comes to the original series, like, why did they just do this?
Remember the 2 security guys who didn't beam down?
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, like, it's been a long time since I've seen this episode, so I totally didn't really remember the episode at all. So I'm watching it, and Candace is beside me, my wife, and she's like, oh, they got red shirts, they're gonna die. I'm like, I don't even think they go. And then all of a sudden, like, it beams, and like the 2 guys are just kind of like, where did everybody go?
Yeah, because the red shirts usually die.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I guess they couldn't have that because Pulaski there was in a red shirt.
Well, we're not going to get to kill these guys. These characters don't get to die in this scene, so there's no really reason for them to go down to the planet. So
nobody really dies in this episode, so it's like
only, I guess, Enoch dies right at the end.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, but he was already dead.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then the plan like emerges. Like Sargon is like this really noble character. He's committed to this, like, let's go into the Android bodies. But Thalassa, his wife, not so much. She's not so convinced. She's not so eager. And so Enoch is like kind of seeding like the seeds of doubt in her mind. And that what does he say? I was gonna make, no, I think that's a little later when he's like, I was gonna make your android more female or something like that.
You no doubt want the mechanism to at least appear to be a woman.
Right. He's sowing doubt with that. And so eventually that metabolic injection to Kirk catches up. Sargon apparently dies, but it's all a ruse.
Sargon didn't die. He transferred into the ship.
Transferred into the
Right?
ship. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what he does. He's in the computer.
Yes. His consciousness went into the ship, and instead of into Kirk.
But Kirk's body died?
Yes.
Kirk's body actually died, yeah. But then McCoy got him going again with got his
Got him
vital
on life
signs.
support, basically.
Yeah, but he had no brain. He was brain dead. He was he had him going, and that's when Sargon put Kirk back in. He did some kind of a Sargon trick.
Advanced alien trick, yeah. All right, and so, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to remember where it was going from here.
Well, they were building the dummies, and then that's when Enoch had this great idea of killing Sargon and Kirk with putting the wrong formula together for them.
not giving them the right serum or whatever.
Not giving the right serum, so that they would die, and then he would have Spock's body, and then they're both out of the picture.
Yeah. Did he want to marry Thalassa?
I think so. I think that's what he had in mind.
Yeah, like he wanted to keep her around, but Sargon, nah, I don't need this Sargon guy.
No.
Yeah, and what? Sargon's such a Boy Scout. Why would you want him? And then I think we're almost near the end, right? Because eventually Enoch tries to take over the whole ship. But what is it? It's that Kirk has been transferred into Nurse Chapel. Is that what happened?
I think Spock went into Nurse Chapel.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people going into people.
There's a lot of in.
I was always like, because at the end so Enoch orders Nurse Chapel to inject Kirk with like a formula that would kill him, right? Or an injection that would kill him in the very final scene.
Yeah. Yes.
And but then Nurse Chapel turns around and injects Spock's body instead, killing Enoch. And
then Enoch said, "I'll transfer to another body," but Sargon blocked him, so he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so like Sargon is kind of like he's like the Lucifer character, right? He's like
he kind of took one on the chin for the team, and then he saved the ship, and then had one last kiss with.
They transferred back in, so they could have their final goodbye kiss or whatever.
And
then they would go into oblivion.
Okay, so and that's the ending of the episode, and apparently that was the controversial thing. Because the writer of the episode, whose name escapes me right now, it's John something, I believe. John Kingsbridge, was a big Catholic, or is a devout Catholic, and was not happy with how Roddenberry changed the script that they would go into oblivion. I think he had
too bad it's his show.
But he was that was apparently a big thing.
What did he want them to go into?
John Kingsbridge, but his real name was John T. Dugan.
John T. Dugan. So he wrote the script.
They probably wanted him to go to
in the original draft.
Barrier.
Sargon and Thalassa continue their existence as spirits. So they turn into spirits, Jeff.
Yes.
And Gene Roddenberry didn't like that.
I mean, why? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a strange thing to get upset over, but that's the 60s. The politics were a lot more religious based, so everyone had their own belief, and it's hard to change a belief. You can change an idea, but it's hard to change a belief.
Right, the internal soul and all. I don't know. Like I don't side with the writer here, but he's just like, you never think that a producer is going to change your script to a whole different philosophy. That was apparently the big
right, but like Jody said, the whole show is Gene Roddenberry's philosophy. I mean, it's his vision.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a lot of story changes down the line there that were based on what Gene decided he wanted.
Oh yeah, I don't think that the writers necessarily have like some kind of artistic like license to make whatever. If they want, they can make their own thing, right? But if you're working for a studio, you're working for a producer, and you submit a script.
Yeah.
If you submit a script, you don't own that script anymore. They can change it to whatever they want, and you can have your name taken over. There's rules and there's union
rules
about this
rules and all that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, how about we rate this episode? Because I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about that. So I'm going to get that put here on the screen. Let's get this going. Okay. Here, entire screen.
Am I supposed to see something? There
Yes.
we go. Yeah, I can't see that.
You got to put it full screen. There you go.
Ooh, now we're all echoey.
Okay, did you guys see this? Okay, so I want you guys to rate this episode out of 10.
Okay.
I would say it's an 8.
I would give it a staunch 8.3.
Okay, and Jeff?
Probably give it an 8 as well. That was my original feeling.
I'm feeling generous. I'm going to give it an 8.5. All right. So that's going to bring it up to an 8.2. It's by far the best Star Trek episode we've watched so far of the original series. Then,
barely.
Well, actually, a piece of the action is pretty close. So we have our average, right? And then I have the IMDb rating there, which is
So which IMDb rating is this
for the episode?
Oh, okay.
Specific to the episode, and so the combined average.
Is this a viewer rating or is this IMDb?
IMDb.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was 2 ratings.
No, that's Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, sorry.
But Rotten Tomatoes doesn't rate individual Star Trek episodes, so they do that for the whole series. Anyway, let's get that. But so so I'd say that as a group, we've liked this episode the best. And then kind of the combined averages, it's kind of on par with A Piece of the Action, which is also from season 2. So I'm really starting to think season 2 might be the greatest season of all.
Well, we don't know. We haven't got to the other seasons yet.
I don't know. I'm just thinking all the good episodes are in season 2. It seems like
we haven't rated everything.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see where that goes. Okay, well, any final thoughts on this episode?
It was a good episode. Like, it was, I don't regret watching it again. It definitely was a lot easier to watch than some other
for sure
original series episodes.
This episode holds up. It does. It's like it's still
a good
original
episode,
series, but
they could easily remake this episode into any modern Star Trek, and it would still be just as good.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, production quality, everything, acting, obviously, with the exception of Kirk, the acting was pretty good. But overall, I think it's worthy of my 8.
Yeah, I'd say so. Jeff?
Yeah, it was a good watch. I wasn't bored throughout the whole episode. Here you get to kind of, these actors get to show off their acting in this episode. It's a bottle episode. You got a lot of, Kirk isn't great, but he's fun to watch.
It's not a bottle episode.
And in this episode, he's especially fun to watch, especially that speech he gives. It's more like
that was his John F. Kennedy moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, his whole speech is so ridiculous that like it's getting to a point where like everybody's just like, well, I guess. I mean, he believes in it, and he's the captain, and so it kind of makes sense. Also, fun fact: this episode aired 2 months before Martin Luther King was assassinated. So,
fitting that I brought him up tonight.
Yeah, it was very close.
I don't know if that's necessarily a fun fact, but
okay, well,
it's a fact.
Did he introduce that as a fun fact?
He did.
I did. It's not a fun fact. It's not. I mean, it wasn't funny.
Nothing fun about Martin Luther King getting killed, but
it was 4 months before Robert F. Kennedy was killed.
Do you remember all that? Do you remember those assassinations?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were like 10, right?
I was like 10. I was 10. Yeah.
Yeah. And Dad, final thoughts on this episode, and also, what are we watching next?
Well, that's funny you should ask, because I was just about to bring that up, what we're going to watch next. And we're going to watch a show called The Corbomite Maneuver.
Oh, The Corbomite Maneuver. Okay. And I don't recall.
I think it's season 3. Is that season 3, Dave?
I'm looking it up right now. And Corporate Might Maneuver is season 1, episode 2.
Oh.
So this is the first episode after the pilot.
This is the one with the alien head.
I have it as
Yeah.
episode 10, Dave.
Yes, with Mitch McConnell.
Season 1, episode 10.
It's season 1, episode 10.
I have it as season 1, episode 2.
Well, then
Is
you're
that on
wrong.
Netflix?
I'm going off the Star Trek wiki.
Oh, well. Are you sure you don't have it in like some sort of chronological order or something?
Well, you're right, because it aired in November 10th, 1966.
That's right.
So, but it's considered the second episode. I got to figure out why.
It's not considered the second episode with what I'm looking at.
On IMDb, it's number 10.
Yep.
Yeah,
Season 1,
because I
episode
think the
10.
first episodes were the menagerie.
The first episode is the cage and the man trap. Those are the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
The cage. Okay, the cage was made in like was made years
Well,
earlier.
keep in mind the pilot wasn't ever aired.
Okay,
too,
I have
and
it as
that's
the man
first.
trap is the first episode, and then Charlie X, and then Where No Man Has Gone Before. Those are
You're
the-
right. Yeah, right. The Man Trap aired first, September 8th, 1966. Then it was The Enemy Within.
Yeah, I knew I was right. It is. Look, I don't know if you can see this, but
I can't see it.
What is it?
Maybe.
I can't
Maybe
see. What did you say?
Return to Tomorrow. Season
Yeah.
2.
I'm going
episode
off.
20. I knew this was episode 20. I knew that.
Okay, I also have something I could show you to prove I'm right. Hold on.
Yeah, but you're looking at a wiki that everybody edits.
So,
Yeah, you're
So-
right. Well, it is listed as 20 on IMDb. I don't know if that's actually correct though.
look. Here we go.
What episode number was Patterns of Force?
Patterns of Force was episode 23.
See, it's 20 on this. Or 22, 21.
Well, are you counting? It depends if you're counting like a two-parter as one episode.
I have Patterns of Force as number 21.
Look,
Yeah,
episode
I have it as 21. as
2
well.
first aired 10th of November 1966.
See that picture of that guy there sitting there with the gray robe on?
He was in the
That
end
is
credits
Mitch
for a while.
McConnell.
This is Mitch McConnell? Yeah, I can buy that.
He was all I remember about him is he was on the end credits all the time.
Yeah, he always was.
Had his head was always there right at the end.
But he's not. He's a puppet.
Yeah, he's a puppet.
You know what you're saying about Scotty's hand or whatever, Dave? He always puts his hands behind his back in scenes.
It's true. Yeah.
And now that I get why. He
Yeah, it makes
always
him-
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's missing a finger, Jeff. He lost one for Canada and for the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're watching the Corbomite maneuver next. Okay, well, it's season 1, episode number controversial, I guess. So
I think I would go with 10.
okay, we're going with episode 10, I
It
guess.
wasn't the second episode in the series, I can tell you right now.
I agree with you. I'm just going with what the wiki is saying.
Are you sure your wiki doesn't like go based on like when they shot it or something?
It's probably no. They don't go based on shot because that happened on us on Deep Space Nine, where we. It's
Well,
I thought
yeah,
it was based-
you guys screwed that one up too because I remember seeing it. You were doing episode 2, but it wasn't. It was episode 3.
That's because they don't consider the pilot 2 episodes, even though it is.
Ah, okay.
and they were going based on production schedule, not air dates. But now I'm getting this is contradictory with this Star Trek one, which is
You're gonna have to figure it out, Dave. The audience.
I got a
figure it
week.
out.
Look up all the wikis, figure out which wiki's
Figure
right.
it out.
I will
What's the
find out what
consensus?
episode number this is. It's
Make a
It's episode
spreadsheet.
10.
It's
Episode 10 I got.
I don't know. The wiki says it's episode 2. Okay.
It's
On
wrong.
WikiLeaks.
Everybody else says it's 10. It's 10. I can go change the wiki right now and make it episode 800 if I want. Eventually, somebody will fix it.
Somebody will fix it. So you think that somebody just didn't fix it? It doesn't matter. We'll figure it out.
There's got to be a reason why it's set that way.
Okay.
Maybe they're doing it based on star date or something.
The next episode after that one is the menagerie.
Yes. So that's episode 11.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the Corbomite
we
maneuver.
wasted
Okay.
too much time on this.
All right. All right. Well,
Okay.
I think we're ready to sign off then, everybody. Hey, thanks for joining us tonight. Make sure to subscribe on all our Facebook, YouTube, audio feeds, all that. Check out our Super Mater Brothers podcast channel. That's a sister channel that
I don't recommend it.
We got all kinds of other great non-Star Trek related stuff over there, movies and TV.
It's okay.
Do you
And,
like
Doesn't have me
Survivor?
though.
Do you
Doesn't have
like
me.
Westworld?
No.
and back on here on Live Long and Podcast tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. We will be watching, or we'll be talking about Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered
Yep.
Country.
Mom's
The
in.
best.
Mom's in
The
for that one?
best ever.
Yep. Yeah, the best of them all.
The best of all the original series Star Trek movies.
So I'm excited for that. I'm really excited. I'm gonna work on that. Work on those audio.
I see a little bit.
Beth
Of
Mater. She
another
wants to-
Mater there.
I want to
A
say
little bit of Beth Mater in there.
Jody.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
And also, watch out on Wednesday. We'll be doing the Survivor Winners at War finale on that'll be on Super Mater Brothers. Whoa! Turn off the water. Okay, there we go.
Thought
All right.
Flooding for a minute.
All right.
Do you
Until
like the water?
yeah,
Do you like the water touch?
no, that was not nice.
it was like white
okay.
noise.
Yeah, it was a white noise. Okay, I want to thank the panel, Jody, Jeff, Dad. Thanks for coming in, and we'll be back for the Corbomite maneuver next week.
Okay.
All right,
Sounds
until
good.
then, thanks everyone. Live long and podcast, and long life. Good night.